Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Welcome to Emergency Anime Club Episode 2. This time we'll be talking all about Miyazaki films. I'll even be talking a little bit about his newest film, The Wind Rises. So let's do the giveaway stuff first, then I'll do my top 5 Miyazaki films, and then I'll do a short review of The Wind Rises. First things first, congratulations to David Lesta and Cherry Chan 209. You are the two winners of my Crunchyroll guest passes. You're both going to get one, so I'll reach out to you on Google+. I also promised to pick one person to choose a future topic for Emergency Anime Club, so congratulations to Nerdy Pajamas. I'll be reaching out to you too. You get to pick a future topic, any kind of anime that you want to talk about, and then I'll work the video in, and then I'll just let everybody else know whenever we're going to talk about it. This week, because we're talking all about Miyazaki, I'll be giving away one free Studio Ghibli DVD to a random subscriber in the comments. If you're international, it's just going to be PayPal equivalent. So here are my top 5 Miyazaki films of all time. Number 5, Princess Mononoke. This was actually the first Miyazaki film I ever saw. They screened it at my college and it was the sub, not the dub version. I didn't know anything about Miyazaki at the time, but I was so hypnotized by the style and the story that I just started looking for as many imports as I could find. It was also the movie that put Studio Ghibli on Disney's radar. They ended up releasing, all the DVDs in the US, which is why you have to sit through those weird John Lasseter intros. Number 4, My Neighbor Totoro. I saw this one much later, and of all of Miyazaki's films, I feel like Totoro is the most identifiable character, as seen in Adventure Time. The movie itself is one of the smallest. It takes place in this tiny area around their house, so there's this really cozy feeling. This is actually the Miyazaki film that I usually rewatch if I get super sick and have to stay home. Number 3, Spirited Away. This was actually Miyazaki's first international box office hit. It was the highest earning Japanese film ever at the time. Since it was released, only one other Ghibli film has earned more money. I really like how urban it feels, and the bathhouse itself was a location that a lot of other anime ended up paying homage to later. For all the horror fans out there, during Beginnings, that scene where all the animals travel to the sacred spring is them doing their version of the bathhouse. All of Miyazaki's films are really immersive, they really suck you in, but this was actually the first Miyazaki film that I saw that felt, real to me, like it felt like a real world that I could live in. Number 2, The Wind Rises. Be careful if you don't like crying in public, because this one will turn you into a pile of sadness. I'll talk more about it in depth during my review, but it has this very ambiguous ending that really challenges your perception of happiness. I made it my number 2 because all of my favorite films, really affect me in intense emotional ways, and with all the crappy movies coming out of Hollywood every year, that doesn't happen very often. So whenever something can make me cry in public, it definitely deserves a top 3 spot. Seriously, I'm almost crying right now just thinking about it again. And my number 1 favorite Miyazaki film of all time, Whisper of the Heart. This movie actually used to be a really hard one to find. It's not as controversial as The Wind Rises, but it feels a lot more familiar. Wind Rises took place during World War II Japan, so unless you were alive then, it's really hard to identify with the world of that film. Whisper is just about 2 normal kids, and for me it felt very autobiographical, or biographical, depending on how you look at it. Meaning a lot of the plot and themes felt similar to things that had happened in my life, and that really helped me connect with the characters on a really deep level. Of all of Miyazaki's films, this is one of the few that doesn't have any dub versions, and that is exactly the way it should stay. It is completely precious. Now, since this is Anime Club, it's your turn. Write your favorite Miyazaki film in the comments below, and let me know how you found your first Miyazaki film. Did you see it in a theater? Did a friend loan you a copy? In case you haven't seen it yet, you need to put The Wind Rises on your must-see list in 2014. The movie gets a wider release in late February, so you should all have a chance to see it wherever you live. The main character is this really optimistic engineer who invented the Japanese dive bomber airplanes during World War II. The film itself is kind of about how unfortunate circumstances can pervert good intentions. Of all of Miyazaki's films, it's the most controversial just because of the topic, but it's also one of his most tragic films. Just to give you a warning before you see this movie, make sure you do something to make yourself feel happy. You will need a buffer for the sadness. Thank you so much for another Emergency Anime Club. Next week we'll be talking about the Sailor Moon reboot. Be sure to subscribe to get that video, and watch some classic Sailor Moon just so you have some context. Right now, click here for last week's Anime Club, and click here for my Legend of Korra Q&A. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. High fives.